another video. Today I'm doing a book haul, even though I'm trying not to buy books, but these all are thrifted books, so I feel like it's not as bad. But these are books that I have gotten over the past couple of months, and I thought I would just put them all in one pile and show them to you guys. I have some nice pumpkin spice coffee. I don't know why people hate on that. It's actually pretty good, but there really is no order to this. I'm just gonna show you because I don't really remember the order in which I got these. But starting off, we have a 1960s Easton Press edition of The Call of the Wild by Jack London. This is a really pretty edition that I found at the Friends of the Library. And I had a mass market paperback of The Call of the Wild, so I just replaced it for this one. It does have some interesting artwork, but I like the movie, and I had the mass market paperback, so I was like, I'll just switch them out because this is a much better edition. This one I got from the Senior Center, and that is a Harvard Classics. When I see these, I grab them, and I have quite a few of them. But this is modern English drama, so we have lots of different stories in here, and I just really like these editions, so when I see them, I grab them. This has, I'm trying to see, and this is copyright 1909, so this is an old book, and it's an incredible quality, and we have lots of cool stories in here, so I love finding those and grabbing them. But also from the Senior Center, I have, let me get them all in front of me. Okay, I think this is all of them. So I have two Virginia Woolf books, Mrs. Dalloway and A Room of One's Own. A Room of One's Own is a essay by her that she was going to present at a women's college, and it's an essay about women in fiction writing. And I did read the preface already, and she just is an author I really want to get into, and I'm excited to read her books. So I have that nonfiction essay by her, as well as Mrs. Dalloway, which is a fiction book, and this follows Clarissa Dalloway for one day in her life. And I think she's planning this party, and it dives into deeper themes, obviously. She's Clarissa's reminiscing on her youth before the terrible war, because I don't know which World War this is set in. I don't know, but I believe it is set her youth. She grew up during the time of one of the wars, so I'm really excited to get into her, and I found two of them, so that's really cool. Then I have The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. I'm a little tired today, so if I'm mispronouncing all the words wrong or my sentences don't make sense, that's why. But this is a classic a lot of people like, and I think it will be something I like. It is a little bit of a brick. This is the Signet Classic Edition, and they always compact those books. But this follows Edmond Dante, and he is a sailor, and he's about to become the captain of his own ship. He's going to get married to the love of his life, and his life is just really working out for him. But then his enemies come up with a plot to frame him for something, and he gets thrown into prison. And the only other person in this jail is this crazy priest guy. Yeah, he's a priest. And he ends up escaping, but he re-enters society not as Edmond Dante, but as the Count of Monte Cristo, and he begins to plot revenge. And it just sounds like something I will really like, and I'm really excited to read this. And yeah, I'm glad I found a copy of it, because I wasn't gonna buy. I almost bought a really nice edition, but I was like, no, I don't know if I'm gonna like this book, so I shouldn't be spending a lot of money. And then we have Middlemarch by George Eliot. George Eliot is a pen name for Mary Ann Evans, who was a novelist in the I think her first published work was the 1820s. Okay, so more like the 1840s. And then the 1870s was her when she was publishing her novels. And this is called her masterpiece. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't 100%. The back isn't super helpful. It doesn't really give me much of a plot, but I have heard of this, and I do want to try it. And I'm excited. I love reading work by women from like the 18th century, like Jane Austen and stuff like that. Then this one I'm so excited about. I'm probably going to read it very soon. But that is Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis. This is a retelling of the myth of Cupid and Psyche, or Psyche. I don't know. There's the name. I will probably, editor me will shame me if I said that wrong probably. But this is a retelling of that myth through Oriole, who is the sister of Psyche. I have not read the original myth, but I'm still going to read this one because I love C.S. Lewis. The Chronicles of Narnia are incredible, and I've wanted to read his Silent Planet sci-fi series as well as his non-fiction like Mere Christianity. So I was so happy when I found this, and these editions of his work are rather expensive. They got like the stenciled edges and then the flap, even though it's paperback. I don't know why they do that, but it is kind of fun. So this is a really nice copy. It's almost brand new, and I'm very, very excited about that one. This is a really cool. I've never read a book in this style, like, or consumed a story through this medium, but that is a collection of Superman comics. These are from the 30s to the 70s. I don't know if it's all of them, but it is just a collection of those Superman comics. And I have never read comic books before, but I do really like Superman as a character. So I think this is a perfect place to start reading comic books. And some of them are in color, most of them are just in black and white, but I hope I like them because I've wanted to get into comics. But to be honest, it's kind of confusing, like where you're supposed to start in like the Marvel comics and the Batman ones and all the different versions. It's a little confusing, but hopefully I will like them because I would really like to get into comic books. And then we also have a collection of Lord Byron's poems. Whenever I see poetry, I just grab it because I am sort of more getting into poetry. I haven't really read it until a couple months ago, and I started with Emily Dickinson, and so when I see poetry collections, I grab them because I just don't really know what I like yet as far as poetry. So I am just testing the waters in the poetry world since I have not really ever read it before. But I am excited. I have heard of his work and I have read a couple of his poems, so I hope I like it because I would love to love all my poetry collections. Then we have E.M. Forster's A Room with a View. This is a social satire set in Florence, Italy and Surrey, England, following Lucy Honeychurch, which I love that. Yeah, that's her name. It is such a fun name. I love that last name especially. But this is a critique sort of on the Victorian society during this is set in 1908 in the 20th century, and I think it will be a good read. To be honest, most of these books I'm sort of going in blind, but that is how I like to consume books because I'm surprised when I really like them. And so I'm excited to try. I'm trying to get I'm trying to get more into classics, and this is one that I had heard about, so I am just really trying everything. Then we have Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. This follows a Cuban fisherman, and he's down on his luck. He hasn't caught anything in a while. He's kind of a little on the poorer side right now because he hasn't caught anything, and it follows his battle with this giant marlin fish as he tries to reel it in to sell it, and it explores themes of courage and triumph in the face of obstacles, and it just sounds really good. And I haven't read anything by Ernest Hemingway yet, so I think this is going to be a good gateway into his writing just because it is a shorter novel, and I believe it is one of his most well-known works. So those are books that I got at the senior center and this thrift store. And then these books, we have this warehouse in town that was converted into a thrift store, and it wasn't the best quality. The book section was kind of small, but it recently got new owners and they've really revamped it and it looks so good. They opened up a whole new area just to create their own little library. They had displays and it was so good. I was blown away when I went in there because I didn't know they had redone everything. So I got some really cool treasures from there. But first off, we have A Rose in Bloom by Louisa May Alcott. This is a sequel to Eight Cousins, which I didn't even know there was a sequel, so that's perfect because I really did like those characters and I would love to continue reading about them. But this is a 1927 edition, which is cool, and the cover is really cute. But this just continues on Rose's stories from Eight Cousins, and I just, whenever I see a Louisa May Alcott book, I pick it up because I do really just love her works. They're just so endearing and heartwarming, and her characters are pretty funny to read about. They sometimes get into some trouble. And I got George Orwell's Animal Farm. I also have 1984 by George Orwell, and that is a pen name. I'm not 100% sure the author's real name, but all of his works focus on the government and their control over society and how they influence what we see and our viewpoints. And this is sort of an allegory of that, but through the usage of farm animals, I'm pretty sure. And I just think this is an important book to read. It is a banned book in other countries, and it used to be banned nationally from school libraries, but now some schools have it and then other schools don't allow it in their libraries. But I think it is a good book to read, so it'll be very interesting. It seems like a style of book that I haven't read much from before. It is a dystopian, so we shall see. Then these are some of my favorite books from this whole haul, and that is The Iliad and the Odyssey. These are translated by Samuel Butler, I was trying to find a different translated edition, but it's okay. I'm still happy that I found these. They're really nice hardcovers, and I can finally read them now because I've been looking for the Iliad everywhere. And I want to read this because the creator of Epic the Musical is coming out with Ilium, which is the Iliad but a musical, so I want to read this beforehand so I have some knowledge of what's going on, and then I can finally read the Odyssey. I have another edition, it's right here. I am packing it because I just don't need 2 editions of the Odyssey out on my shelves, but I have a different edition, so I thought I could read both of them and then sort of see if there's any difference, because it is translated by different people, so I think that'll be interesting. But I am very, very excited about these. Then, these are some absolute scores. These were on display at the warehouse, the library, and that is The Inheritance Cycle. I have already read Eragon, and I do already own that. It is packed. And then, so I was so excited when I saw these because I wanted to continue that series, but I couldn't find the other books anywhere because I wasn't going to buy them brand new. But I found these ones all there. The whole series was there, but I didn't take the first one since I'd already had it. And they're pretty nice quality. They do have a little bit of staining on the pages, and the covers are a little beat up, but they're pretty nice quality, and I got these for $1 each. So the second book is Eldest, and then we have Brissinger, which has a funny dragon on the front, and then we have Inheritance. This is my favorite cover. But this is a fun YA fantasy series following Eragon, who is a farmer's boy, and he finds a dragon egg, and the dragon's name is Saphira, and dragons are sort of extinct, or the only dragons are owned by the evil ruler guy, and he is going on a quest, and we left off at the end of Eragon where they're in the dwarf kingdom that is in the mountain, and we had Eragon and Saphira. They just won that battle. We had Murtagh, which is the enemy's son, and then we had the elf lady that they rescued. I do not remember her name, and then that witch lady with her werecat friend. But this is just sort of an easy fantasy series. I feel like the world building and the plot isn't super complex, so it's just like a fun series to read. It's not a lot of brain power to use it, to read it, but I do really like them, and I'm glad I get to finally continue the series. Then I got these today because we had a town-wide garage sale day and the library did a book sale, so I went there, and I got some cool ones. But I have this is a nonfiction. This is a Singer sewing book from, I believe, the 1950s, and I actually have an antique 1940s Singer sewing machine. It's not when I put my room back together, when I get my new room, I will show you guys that because it is so stunning and it's such a gorgeous machine. And this is a sewing book guide by the same company. So I think this will be helpful because I am sort of teaching myself how to sew because no one in my family uses a sewing machine. So I'm sort of just figuring it out on my own. But I think that'll be helpful. And it is just a cool book. It matches perfectly with my antique machine. Then I also got The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. This is a fantasy. I've heard it's sort of a darker fantasy where they are trying to find the last unicorn. And this is a 1950s copy. I like the cover art. It is very antique fantasy feeling. And it is very sun damaged. But this is, I think it is a children's fantasy. But it is a darker fantasy, I've heard, and I do really want to read this. I have heard about it, and so I saw it, and I was like, why not give it a try? Then we have one that I'm really excited about. The cover is kind of silly, but it is The Myths of the Norsemen, and this is by Roger Lanson Green. I just found this today, but the cover, it's kind of funny. I am definitely, my mythology folklore section is growing. I just finished the Irish folklore omnibus and I really liked that. I've got Greek mythology and now I have Norse mythology, so I am definitely getting into that more. But that is my little haul of the past few months. I hope you guys have had some good thrifting scores lately. Honestly, finding a book you want at the thrift store is such a fun and incredible feeling. But I hope you guys are all having a great day, and thank you guys so much for the support, and goodbye.